Our next talk is titled X in Religion and Human History, and it's by Joshua, a talented public speaker, very passionate and intrigued about different cultures due to Scottish and Indian background. Please welcome him on stage.
This evening, my peers and I have talked about many different topics associated with the letter X. But I personally have chosen to talk about X in the context of religion and human history. X is a very unique letter to me. And even though it may take up the least space in the English dictionary, it is the most unique letter in the whole alphabet for various different reasons. So when I was thinking of topics to write for the speech, one of the first things to come to mind was one of my favorite times of year, which is Christmas. This can also be known as Xmas. But do you know why that is? You can probably imagine things like Xmas tree, Xmas cards, Xmas presents, as they look better on advertisements. Some people may not like this, as they believe it takes away the links to Christ. But this actually isn't the case. Let me explain. So if we take a look at the Greek language, there is a term for Christ, the word behind me. That first letter is a letter chi. This letter is an X and a P put together, which is the first letter of that word behind me, which is Christ in Greek. So when it was believed to be first abbreviated was in the early 11th century, when an Anglo-Saxon was writing on parchment paper, and which was quite expensive at the time, he wanted to save space on that paper, and instead of writing the full word of Christmas, he wrote XP-mas to save space. This abbreviation stuck and was eventually shortened to Xmas. So with the evidence that I just told you, I can tell you that there really isn't anything wrong with saying Xmas. The religious ties are still there. So another thing I want to bring to your attention is flags. I'm from Scotland, and before researching on this topic, I've always wondered, why is there a massive white X on a blue background on my home flag? There are also some other countries with either a cross on it, a couple of Scandinavian countries, as well as an X on it, like countries like Jamaica. But I'll talk about my country's flag and how it originated. It is, quite a story, but I'll try to summarize it in the best way possible. So when St. Andrew, who was an apostle of Jesus Christ, was being crucified by the Romans in the early 1st century, it is believed that he thought himself unworthy to be crucified on a cross like that of Jesus Christ, as he's his leader, and he simply didn't believe himself unworthy. So instead, he requested to be crucified on an X-shaped cross, or a saltire instead. So then his remains were brought to where the modern-day town of St. Andrews is today. So you're probably all wondering, how does this all relate to the Scottish flag? How did the white X on a blue background become the Scottish flag? Well, the story is this. There was a king called King Angus II, and he took his army to battle. His army was not necessarily as big as his opponent's army. So he prayed to St. Andrew for help, and so almost promised that if he was granted victory, he would appoint St. Andrew as the patron saint of Scotland. On the morning of the battle, King Angus II and his army saw this image. This is white clouds forming an X shape on a blue sky. So King Angus II and his army were sort of emboldened and motivated by this image and took it to the battlefield. And despite their inferior numbers, they came out victorious. So to honor his pre-battle pledge, he duly appointed St. Andrew as the patron saint of Scotland. And that's the story of how a white X set against a blue background became the flag of Scotland. So Christianity isn't the only religion that has some sort of ties with X. I want to talk about one of the most infamous X-shaped symbols in history. This is a swastika. I'm pretty sure you all know what it is. You all think of one person, one organization, one thing even, and that's, of course, Adolf Hitler and his Nazi party. Yes, Adolf Hitler did design this flag in 1920 and took inspiration from various things that I'll mention later and combined it with the colors of the German imperial flag, which are red, black, and white, which is the same colors that I'm wearing today. Possibly Hitler designed this flag to sort of symbolize some pure, to make some pure European Aryan ancestry, as I will explain later. So in my research for today, I found that swastikas were scattered all across Northern Europe, dating all the way back to the Germanic Iron Age, which is 1,000 to 1,500 years ago. These were scattered on various artifacts. So Hitler must have seen these and took inspiration and created his own symbol. And that symbol is, of course, the most recognizable icon in Nazi propaganda. But, of course, it's tied with Hitler. But there's also another religion that has ties with this swastika. And that religion is Hinduism. It's been around in Hinduism for a long, long time, way before Adolf Hitler was born. So, a couple years ago, when I was around 9 or 10, I was in about year 4, I was learning about the 2 world wars. So I learned all about Hitler and the trenches and all the things in between. And I went to India for the holidays, and I got into one of those auto rickshaws. If you don't know what they are, they're behind me. And I saw the swastika in the driver's auto. And I was like, what? Did the Nazis come to India as well? Is there something I'm missing? But no. I immediately asked my parents, and they told me what had happened. So I had learned that this swastika had been in Hinduism for centuries. They mean things like fortune, good luck, and well-being. So the next time you see this swastika in your neighbor's garden, don't worry. It's just Indians celebrating their culture. So I hope I have shown today that X has had a massive influence on culture, religion, and history. And not only that, many other topics, as you would have heard about today. But before I go, one last point. This TEDx phenomenon, this event, you see it all across the world in many different places. But do you know why that is? Do you know why it's so popular across the world? You might think that this has to do with the quality of the speakers. And yes, that is true. However, I think the true X factor, the true person here is not necessarily the person that you see speaking here, or taking center stage. And that person is the organizer of the event. So I want to say a thank you to Viola Vanacore for brilliantly putting this together from day one and as an inspiration as a senior Sunmarke student. I also want to thank the school for organizing this, as well as Mr. Bishop for helping me in public speaking as I joined World Scholars a year ago. And I wouldn't be here today without that. So thank you all for listening and good evening.